There's been many innovations over the years that drive science. If you go back in history, many scientific insights actually derived from new tools that were able to measure new things. AI is very, very good at finding new paths that haven't been seen before. It's almost an enhancement on our ability to sense the world.
The main benefit of machine learning is the ability to learn from lots and lots of data.
We can show a computer a lot of examples, and rather than tell a model how to evaluate that data, it can learn actually how to interpret it and figure out what to do next.
Here at Google, we've been using machine learning technologies in all of our products, things like search, translate, Google Photos, and the Assistant.
People are realizing that learning from examples is a very powerful tool.
So researchers in the healthcare community were looking at some of the work that Google was doing in artificial intelligence and actually reached out to us and said, is there a way that you could apply these same kind of technologies in healthcare? Doctors today have more artificial intelligence working for them on their smartphone for their personal use than they have working for them in the clinical context.
And as doctors, we've just gotten more information kind of shoved at us in terms of records, in terms of images.
Think about all the different types of cells that you have.
15,000, 20,000 different diagnosis codes.
Just a cubic millimeter of tissue, it's like taking, a billion photos.
If you print it out, they would probably be about as tall as a 10-story building.
Really, any kind of data that people can generate on a massive scale is really an area where machine learning could help.
Now there's an opportunity to use all our digital technologies that have been developed at Google to really try to help doctors.
Let's take some of these tools that are great for analyzing videos in YouTube and apply them to problems that matter to science.
One of the things we've been working on in medical imaging is in the area of pathology. Traditionally, pathologists take some tissue sample and they look around in this sea of cells looking for the kind of needle in haystack cancerous tissue.
We know that the earlier you detect the cancer, the greater your chance of curing it, and the greater your chance of curing it without chemotherapy or radiation. So the biggest challenges are speed and accuracy of diagnosis. So far, we've trained models for breast cancer and prostate cancer.
These technologies can actually identify suspicious areas to direct the doctor's attention.
So one of the things we wanted to do was get this work into the hands of as many people as possible.
And so we developed something called the augmented reality microscope, where you can actually see machine learning assistants overlaid in real time as you're looking through the microscope.
These units can be attached onto any existing microscope, greatly reducing the cost. We're really excited to bring machine learning to parts of the world with limited access.
One of the tools some biologists use is they will dye cells with different colors to highlight certain important features that make sense to them.
The problem is you have to kill the cells in order to color them.
So we said, well, if we can do this virtually in a computer, we can preserve the cell in its natural state.
One of the things that you can do on your Pixel phone right now is, given a selfie, you could predict the depth and you can do interesting visual effects. So we thought, hey, can we take this same technology and apply it in a biological context? And essentially use machine learning to predict the stain. We weren't sure whether this would work or not, and it ended up working so well. We're very hopeful that this technology can be used to just have the computer generate the pretty pictures that people know how to interpret.
The brain is probably the most complex physical object in the known universe. We know that there are these basic units called neurons, and they're connected in many different ways. What's shocking is how little is known about what those patterns of connectivity look like and what that means for how the brain works. The problem is very hard because the connections are too large to analyze. For example, a fly brain has 100,000 neurons, whereas a human brain has 100 billion neurons. So fortunately at Google, there's been already a lot of work put into dealing with data sets of that size. Machine learning and the computer vision technology that we've developed has been designed to accurately trace the wiring of the brain in 3D. Prior to that technology, it would have taken thousands of years to basically finish mapping the fly brain. Now you can do it within a year or two. It's a warm-up to understanding larger and more complex brains, hopefully human brains. We're hoping that mapping a brain could potentially help us understand a lot of the neurodegenerative disorders, for example, schizophrenia or Parkinson's. Then we're going to be able to design better therapies that might improve those conditions.
There are tremendous inequities in the way that healthcare is distributed across the globe. Any disease or outcome is predicted as much by your zip code as it is by your biology.
So what can we do with AI to bring the expertise to where no expertise exists?
One of the complications of diabetes is diabetic retinopathy. It causes blindness, and it's diagnosed by seeing little lesions in the eye. But in India, there is a shortage of eye doctors, and as a result, about half the patients suffer some form of vision loss. This disease is completely preventable. This shouldn't really be happening. So we were able to train a model to read these images and match board-certified ophthalmologists. We're now figuring out how to deploy this into the clinic. In India, people who did not have access now have access.
A lot of science is driven by a hypothesis that someone has. But some of the biggest breakthroughs in science come from surprises, things no one expected to have happened.
One of the really exciting things about deep learning is where you can just give it the raw data and it finds the important features. That's interacting with scientists at a very different level than saying, well, let me show you something you've never seen before.
We had one research project, we were looking at human retinas. But what surprised us was machine learning started seeing things that people didn't know was possible.
Turns out that a deep learning model is actually able to identify things that have nothing to do with your eyes, like your cardiovascular health and your metabolic profile. These are things that if you had asked experts, what do you think we'll find? They would have said nothing.
The important thing about this is it's a visual biomarker that we did not know existed before.
Those unexpected things may lead to a whole new idea, a whole new approach, a whole new hypothesis for how to attack the problem you're trying to address.
There are real patients suffering today, and if we're not doing everything we can with all the technology at our disposal to help those patients, then what are we doing?
I think that 10 or 15 years from now, the use of machine learning in healthcare is just going to be how healthcare is done.
I think this is how we're going to find new discoveries. I think that this is how we're going to find ways to take care of more people.
The more we can accelerate that basic work and give all these scientists new tools, we will, as humans, really benefit from the new discoveries that one day end up in our doctor's offices.